Let's move on from the session of technology to a session which is about us, that is emerging opportunities for professionals.
And opportunities don't always knock. Sometimes they just send a WhatsApp messages at midnight.
But for Indian professionals today, opportunities are real, global, and waiting for those prepared to seize them.
The post-lunch session drowsiness is gone and the lucky draw is waiting at the end. But right now, let us welcome our yet another set of panelists, CA Prashant KL, CA Vikas Shada, CA Deepak Gupta, and our own moderator, CA Ravi Kumar Patwa to the dais.
Can we have a round of applause to welcome the dignitaries to the dais? I now invite on stage CA Anup Kumar Loharuka, Executive Committee member ACAE, to introduce the speakers.
Good afternoon all. After having a excellent session on the AI, now we have another sessions, emerging opportunity for the professionals. Now we have our panelist, CA Prashant KL. He is a partner at Guru and Janna and Taxation Experts. He has authored books and presently globally, he will speak on how Indian firms can rise to become the big four of tomorrow. He is the architect behind a recent partnership undertaken between his firm and two of Indian largest CA firm in North and West India. So we welcome Prashant sir. Give big round of applause for the sir. Now, on behalf of the ACAE, I request CA HK Agrawal ji. Thank you. Thank you, Agrawal ji. Thank you, Prashant sir. Now we have another panelist, CA Vikas Sada. So we welcome you, sir, in this panel discussion. He is a co-founder of Spotted Green Ventures. He has advised the World Bank, IFC, and leading corporates. He will share the insights on business responsibility and sustainability reporting, BRSR. So I request on behalf of the ACAE, CA Jitendra Kumar Lohia, sir, to present Memento. Give big round of applause for sir. Thank you. Now we have Deepak Gupta. He is a founder and CEO of Inorb. He is a finance professional and entrepreneur with global consulting experience. He will discuss the growing role of global capacity centers. Now I request SM Gupta sir to present the Memento. Thank you. Now we have our moderator, our CA Ravi Patwa sir, for Central Council member of the ICI. So he is managing partner of RKP Associates. He is a thought leader in the professions. Now he will moderate the sessions. Today we have topic opportunity for the professionals. So I will hand over the proceeding to Ravi Kumar Patwa ji sir. And I request CA Sushil Kumar Rungta ji. So, I request Swapan Bhattacharya for present Memento. Give a big round of applause for sir. Thank you. Now I will hand over to Ravi Kumar Padwaji. Thank you.
Very happy evening, friends and seniors in the profession. After that wonderful panel discussion on artificial intelligence, let us now discuss about some core issues relating to profession. This panel discussion is on emerging opportunities for chartered accountants. And the organizers have decided that 3 emerging things would be discussed in this particular panel. First, on big 4 firms, whether big firms in India are required, and discussion on that. Then, which will be led by Prashant on my extreme right, we will have discussion on BRSR, which will be dealt with by Vikash on my right, and we will also be discussing about the buzzword today, GCC, which will be dealt with by Deepak on my left. So without giving any opening remark, let me start off with the questions, because as it is, we are running behind schedule. And whatever I have to say, I'll speak in between. I'll start with Prashant. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, way back in 2005, when in fact our senior Kashi Bhai was there in the council, started discussing about, making big firms in India. And they started discussing about the concept of networking. In 2007, the first networking guidelines came in, which were changed in 2012. In between, the merger and demerger guidelines came in. The whole concept was to make it convenient for the Indian chartered accountancy firms to become big and compete with the bigger ones in the world. Of course, the guidelines were changed in 2020. And now, even the overseas networking guidelines have come, which we have passed just recently. For those of you, if you do not know, earlier overseas networking was not legalized. It was not allowed by ACAE. Now, overseas networking is allowed. You can become an overseas network partner, subject to the guidelines which we have just recently passed. Having said that, there are many chartered accountants even today who feel that I am happy with my own practice and I will thrive and survive, irrespective of the discussion we had in the previous session on AI and on technology and on other things. There are people who feel that we can still thrive and survive. On the other hand, the Prime Minister feels that we should come up with at least 4 to 5 firms who will be among top 10 firms of the world. We will like to know from you, what is the requirement of big firms in India?
Happy evening, everyone. Thanks, Raviji, for this question. So first, I would like to draw the attention to the point that you mentioned, that Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji, in 2017 when GST was launched, had made a remark to the entire chartered accountants when he was addressing them. And he said, where is the Indian Big Four? In 2022, I don't want to see only Big Four, it has to be Big Eight. Right? This is the statement that he had done. So I can only say, as of now also, it is in the making, it is not yet there. And as far as your question, when it comes to whether it is needed, of course, I feel it is needed. You can take this as my personal opinion. The reason is that when it comes to Atmanirbharta of the country, it is Atmanirbharta not only of the goods manufacturing, it has to be of the services as well. That is point number 1. Second, when it comes to the capability of the Indian professionals as such, at least in IT, if I have to say, it is already established. We have already gone global, whether it is Infosys or TCS, we have already made that name. We have proved that, okay, as an Indian firm, you can provide global services. And when it comes to accounting profession specifically as such, when it comes to the competence and capability, obviously there's no doubt at all. People have been doing great job in the country as such. The only thing we have not yet achieved is becoming a global firm. So we have several steps to go there. As we proceed further, we will look into it. Of course, most important point is in a year when it comes to big consulting firms, the total turnover in India is about $4 billion. So as Indian CA firms, we are thinking, can we get the share in that pie too? Thank you.
Thank you, Prashant. Thank you, Prashant. Now I'll move to Vikash. You know, ESG and BRSR are two words which every chartered accountant has heard of, but except for the top practitioners, not many understand it. So give us an overview about BRSR and ESG.
Yeah, thanks Ravi. And first of all, I would like to thank ACAE, Tarun, the president there, for organizing this wonderful event and giving the opportunity. So, you know, as far as this BRSR is concerned, so BRSR in simple word, I would say that it is nothing but, you know, the reporting format for disclosing the environment, social and governance related performance of a company, right? So actually in 2021, the SEBI came out with a circular, you know, there they brought this concept of BRSR, business responsibility and sustainability reporting. The new format was introduced. So it was not a new concept. Earlier also in 2015 November, the SEBI has brought in the concept of BRR, which was the business responsibility reporting, right? So that was anyway there. Now the sustainability word has been added. Not only this word, a lot of changes have been done where more alignment has been done with respect to GRI, which is the Global Reporting Initiative, then the TCFD, then Sustainable Development Goals related principles. If you really look at, you know, the BRSR, there are major three, you know, the sections we have. The section A is all about, you know, the company's basic performance, the basic information about the company, like what they manufacture, how many places they have the offices, etc. Section B is actually about the policy, process, systems the company has to manage the sustainability related aspect within their operation. I think the section C is the most critical part in BRSR, which has got 9 principles. There are 2 principles related to environment, 4 principles related to the social factors, and then 2 principles related to, 3 principles related to the governance. So there are total 150 odd questions which the companies are required to respond to. So I would say in nutshell, it is nothing but, you know, the non-financial disclosure by the companies with respect to their ESG performance. So that's what is BRSR.
Thank you, Vikash. Now, Deepak. GCC has become a buzzword for the professionals, especially chartered accountants. And I'll give full credit to my council colleague, CA Sanjeev Sanghi, who's trying to sensitize the chartered accountancy profession regarding global capability centers. Having said that, we will like to know from you what are the, you know, current trends unfolding in GCC and how is it going to change the current IT and ITS landscape in India?
Good question, Raviji. I'm proud to say that in last 3 decades, the word GCC is not the GCC word per se starting from the beginning. Gone are the days when we call it call center way back in 90s. In 2000, the buzzword is BPO. Then it comes KPO. Then now it is GCC, and within 5 years, we will call it a GVO, Global Value Organization. So I will say that every decade we prove it a black swan theory where something which never done before is done now in the next decade. And that's what we are seeing. In the interest of time, I will cover 4 key trends which I can clearly see. The first is on the product and innovation, largely from the technology perspective. Gone are the days that when we are using the traditional technology, now virtualization, AI, a lot of discussion happened in the last panel discussion, along with cyber security thing, which are being done primarily from India. There are companies who are driving their technology product development from India, be it Google or Amazon or Microsoft. Take all the big 4 companies. There are major centers in India who are driving the growth. take any of the large centers, large product development centers which are run by the startups. So these are the clear trend which we can see and leverage by the GCCs in India. Second, I will say the strategic shift on the operation of the company. Gone are the days when cost saving is the primary motive and objective of the parent company. Now it is more on the product development and a strategic shift on the innovation. That is driving the change. The third is more on the people side. It is not basically just hiring the low cost people. It is basically setting up the entire function, upskilling and reskilling of the people to align with the extended office of the parent company that is in India. It's not an offshore kind of thought. Fourth, I will say it's more of a hybrid nature and largely on the cultural shift which is happening on the entire GCC ecosystem, where government is also a major role play which government is showing. It's the first time in the history when government speak about the GDP contribution done by the GCC. It is close to 1.5% of the GCC that is contributed by all the GCCs in India. So that's a larger trend which I see, and it will continue to evolve. Every year we are seeing new things coming up. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go back to Prashant again. Prashant, you know, even today, if we think of the top 1,000 companies listed in India, 83% of the total audit fees of the top 1,000 companies is with multinational firms, which are not Indian. If you go to consulting, the percentage is much, much bigger. You know, somehow the revenue which these 4 or 5 or 6 firms are generating is much, much, much higher than the total revenue of all the other CA firms combined in India. We would like to know from you, what are the major challenges, the main challenges which are preventing the Indian firms to reach that scale or to really grow very, very fast so that they can reach that scale in 10 or 20 years' time?
I would say the first point is probably the individual chartered accountants lack that awareness to tell that, okay, as a professional, I need not just practice only as a professional, as an individual. Can I create organizations? So that point was somewhere missing. Even today, if we see, the main issue of the CA profession is also a huge amount of fragmentation. Almost 90 to 95% of the firms as we speak today, many are still practicing as sole proprietary concerns. So first, can we grow them to be partnership firms?
Interrupt in between. It is not 90 to 95%. It is only 69% of the total chartered.
Yeah, but only thing is, if you take partnership firms, 2-member and 3-member firms are many.
Agreed.
So in those cases, there is one main partner, the other 2 partners only working partners, which is only namesake partnership. So that is the reason I took around 90-95%. That was the background, basically. So that is one important thing. So where is the consolidation happening? So unless that happens, there cannot be a bigger scale that can be created to render larger services. That is one important thing. Next is to retain the talent. Very important to retain the talent. We have to work towards it. For that, new technology is also required. That is where we find technology investment is important. So there also we see there is a lot of lacking as far as chartered accountants taking active role in investing in technology is concerned. One more important aspect to this challenge is also the regulatory part of it. It can be from the government side, it can be from the ICAE side, right? It needs that kind of forethought and speed in which the reforms are built. I understand over a period of time, a lot of things have changed. And of late, even in the last week also, one more reform came where in Gift City, you can create a mirror CA firm.
I'll clarify that. That has not come yet. I'll clarify that.
I mean, I'm telling the kind of announcements that are coming, I'm saying, right? It is not that the rule has come. I'm saying the initiation has started, but it has to gather that speed. So I think those are the challenges we have to be aware of.
Okay, just to clarify, the mirror firm thing has not come yet. The word mirror itself may not be there because the mirror has other legal, the legal meaning of the mirror firm if we go by that, then allowing mirror firms may not serve the purpose. We'll discuss it offline some other time. But the thought process is there and the discussion has started. Very soon it will come. Having said that, I'll go back to Vikash. Thanks for giving an overview on BRSR, but we would definitely like to know from you, why is BRSR reporting important from the investor's perspective as well as from the society's perspective?
I think it's a very good question. But before answering this question, let me ask first one question to the audience. So this question is for you. So how many of you make investment in the stock market? Can you please raise your hand? Everybody. But I can't see any. Okay. And how many of you really say invest on the basis of analyzing the financial statement of that particular company? Okay. So I can see that most of the time it is based on the tips. Somebody has given the tips, right? So, but what is really happening is that, while financial statement is good in terms of understanding the financial performance, but there are many other risks which are impacting the performance of the company, specifically the environment and social risk. So it is important for the investors to know like what are those environment and social risks which they need to evaluate before making any decision in terms of investing in a particular company. I think that is exactly what the BRSR does. It helps an investor to know what are those critical, say the social and the environmental factors which can affect the performance of the company in the future. So what we have seen, I mean, if you really look at, say during this time in Deepavali, specifically in NCR region, I mean, the court has given direction to many companies to close down their operation because of the air quality issues. And then we have seen this time, the rain has created havoc in the different parts of the country, right? So it has really disrupted the entire supply chain of many companies and which has negatively affected their performance, their financial, the results, etc. Right? So it is important for the companies to now build this resilience in their business so that they can address these challenges, right? So they have to bring now the ESG into their core strategies, etc. So therefore, this ESG is important from the investor point of view. Now, from the society point of view as well, I think it is important because it is the responsibility, especially the social responsibility of the company to ensure that they utilize these natural resources in such a way that there are adequate resources available to the next generation, and they also leave this more cleaner and greener, the world to the next generation. So therefore, from the society point of view also, it is important.
Thank you. Deepak, I think every chartered accountant sitting over here wants to become a GCC, and not becoming GCC, but at least wants to get some outsourced work. It is easier said than done. Many have tried, but have not succeeded. I understand that there are more than 1,700 GCCs in the country today, but 90% plus are IT companies driven. On that background, can you, advise this August gathering present over here today as to what are the key strategies for establishing a GCC, or for at least starting, start getting the outsourced work somehow?
Sure, Ravi. The way, though there are 1,700, 1,900, the numbers are debatable, but to say, for argument's sake, 1,700 GCCs are there. Whenever the word GCC comes, it always thought that, okay, 1,000, 5,000 people, large floor companies with a lot of people working in the night shift or not in the normal shift, and lot of work is happening. So I want to break this myth is that now it's more of a day of democratization of GCC, where there are small and growing stage companies, let's call it MSME for the global, at a global parlance. They are also ready to open their shop, and GCCs in India, let's call it nano or middle-sized GCC. So for that, I don't have any count, but at least 200 to 300 GCCs came up in last 3 years. Up to 6 to 7 GCCs are opened by my company. There are large demand both from all the sectors, be it Australia, be it Europe or US. There are large requirements. Now coming to the what are the key ingredients, let's call it pillars. There are multiple pillars, but I will just cover 4 to 5 pillars now. One is the key important ingredient in this, in opening a GCC, is to make sure that there is a strategic alignment. Having said that before, definitely our Indian professionals need to go and scout for the right GCCs, and definitely I cannot fish sitting at home. So our professionals who want to set up their GCC for any of the foreign client, they need to go to the pond to fish. They cannot do it sitting in India. Once they have a client, they need to make sure they understand the larger objective. The strategic alignment is very important. Why they are opening the GCs, why parent companies want to sponsor this. This clarity should be there and should be paramount. Second thing, whenever we are setting up the GCC, I always believe that technology is the soul of GCC and manpower is the blood running the stream. So both technology and manpower needs to be taken very cautiously, and when I'm saying manpower, it needs to be make sure that manpower is, resources are completely aligned, and that's the biggest misfit and reason of failure for any of the GCC. This number we never see in the newspaper, close to 23% of the GCC already failed. We never know in the newspaper because it always covers the positive bias. Fourth and fifth point I will quickly cover in 15 seconds is one is operational excellence. Having said then all the product development, innovation, everything is fine, but is there any positive dollar saving coming from the Indian unit? That needs to be seen. Then it comes to the corporate and governance side, whether the risk and governance side is checked and all the compliances are taken care of. Fortunately, unfortunately, India is a land of all the regulations. And it's a boon and bane. We need to make sure that all the regulations are taken care of. Otherwise, I've seen that the companies are getting the notices from RBI for whatever so-called investment came 6 years, 8 years, 10 years back, and they have a hard time. And most of the parent company don't want to have a single spot in their financials or in any of their group company. So those are the major ingredients I believe needs to be taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. A very important point made by Deepak for all of us to note. The fish has to go to the pond. We have to go offshore to get the offshore work. With that, I'll go back to Prashant. Prashant, ICAE has been trying a lot for a couple of decades now. Right now, we are even thinking of allowing PE funding for CA firms. Now, that's a news for everybody, I'm sure. The discussion has started. We have also formed a group on how to allow PE funds for CA firms. But then even if we allow that, it will require a change in the act. So government will get involved. There are so many other things where, government approvals will be required. And having said that, the CA firms also need to change their mentality, and there are other things which needs to be done by the CA firms. So according to you, what are the most important things which CA firm and the government and ICAE can do to ensure that the firms grow and some of them become really, really big?
In fact, I should say that is nothing but a tripod, or I have to say this is a tripartite responsibility. It is ICAI, it has to be chartered accountants themselves, the CA firms, and the government, which can actually together make it possible. As far as ICAI is concerned, it is about encouraging the professionals in order to scale up and start doing consolidation in the form of alliances, networks, eventually leading it to mergers. That is when larger setup is possible. No, what I am saying is it is not about just making a rule and leaving it at that. It's about showing and demonstrating, telling that when the scale improves, this is what is going to happen. That demonstration we have to figure out how to do it. As far as chartered accountants are concerned, there are several steps, at least at the firm level, they have to start taking. We have still seen, as far as technology adoption is concerned, it is still at very nascent stage. It needs a lot of improvement. Even when we talk about artificial intelligence, it is being used in very, very unorganized manner. There is a lot of system that has to be brought in there. So from that perspective, if we see, there has to be a step-by-step method in which the technology has to be advanced in each of our firms. Okay, for that, CA Institute has already framed a mechanism which is called Digital Competency Maturity Model. In fact, every CA has to go back and see where technologically they stand. They have to take that questionnaire of DCMM, assess their firm on a quarterly basis. In fact, at the end of the questionnaire, the way it gives out the output, it clearly tells, okay, for next 3 months or 6 months, what is expected out of you. So in this manner, over a period of time, a chartered accountancy firms keeps asking itself the questions as to what are the technological developments they should do. Gradually in 3 to 4 years from grade A, they can go to grade 4, grade A to grade B for that matter, right? So technologically, that is what they're supposed to do. Of course, government initiative is something that is there in everything. If that push is not there, it becomes difficult for anybody to enact at all. There have been several ways in which the consulting assignments or the tenders, the way it has been issued, okay, there is a methodology that is adopted. We have to have a mechanism to review them and see how there can be more participation in those tenders. If not by individual CA firms, how consortium should be allowed in order to carry out those activities. Same way, similarly in the audits as well, after a certain threshold, government can in fact bring in a kind of a regulation wherein we can tell, okay, along with a larger firm, one more firm has to become a joint auditor. So provisions are still there, but it needs a push and it needs a direction. I think those should be the steps what all the three are supposed to take.
Thank you very much. Now to Deepak. You know the BRSR laws, the reporting requirement, of course all of us know that it is applicable to certain class of listed companies, and every year we are trying to include more number of companies. Any other class of business houses where it is required? Would like.
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. I think there is a misconception that the BRSR is applicable only to the top 1,000 listed companies in India in terms of their market cap, actually. So SEBI has brought in the amendment. Under that, even the value chain partners of these listed companies, whether the upstream value chain partner, the downstream value chain partners, they are also required to disclose about their ESG performance to their listed customers, actually, right? So what basically it means that, so if there is a listed company, I think the SEBI has given a particular, the qualification, the criteria there. So if there is a listed company and any of their supplier or their buyer, if they constitute about 2% of either the sale or purchase of the listed company, then that particular supplier or the buyer, they are also required to do their BRSR reporting. They are also required to disclose about their ESG performance to their listed customers. So therefore, it is a misconception that only the top 1,000 companies are going to be kind of, making this BRSR reporting compulsorily. So that's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you. That is what I wanted to bring out, because normally the profession feels that BRSR is restricted to top companies, and the field is not for the Eastern India Chartered Accountants. But that is not the case. The field is not as small as we feel, and there is ample scope for all of us to enter into BRSR profession. We'll discuss about it later. Now coming to you again. We understand that there are certain skill set gaps, right? Now, what are the skill set gaps for servicing the GCC ecosystem in India, and how chartered accountants can play a role in it? That is what we would like to know from you.
Sure, Ravi. I will start with Rahat Indori, sir, if you permit. So, in the words of Rahat Indori, he says that, "Dil lagana hai to dil se lagao, dil rakhna hai to dil se rakho, dil rakhne ke liye dil na rakho." In CA parlance especially, I will put in automation karna hai to automation karo, automation karne ke liye automation na karo. What it means that we have seen multiple cases wherein some consultant did something for doing something but not achieving the objective. Be it SAP implementation, be it digital transformation. I'm sure, Prashant, you came across multiple audit where auditor, auditee both are struggling on 20th of September how to get the right balances from the ledger. But unfortunately, balances are not coming. It's changing every time whenever you're pulling out the report. There can be tons of reason. But what I'm trying to say, the skill gap exists is understanding what's the need of the client. In case of GCC, whenever we are providing any services, the biggest gap is the alignment between the parent company processes and what process needs to be implemented in India, keeping in mind the local governance challenges and the limited staff, whatever is available, right? So the largest skill gap is basically understanding clearly the process part, understanding and bringing in the right expertise from the industry point of view. Now from the CA side, as a CA profession, what can be given and what can be given upper thrust to bring the GCC ecosystem more robust. And I'm sure CA community can play a major role, not only in terms of risk and governance and in terms of audit, that what we do traditionally, but also in terms of process study, making sure that whatever technology is putting in it is really yielding the ROI. In terms of commercial aspect, definitely we can play a major role, and in any of the digital transformation, we can play a major role. Only thing is that we need to understand what is required and playing a functional expert on the part of Indian GCC and making sure that the right technology is implemented. So we should not stop only with the numbers and balance sheet and financials. We need to go behind what is the story, what is the strategic thought process. Thank you.
Thank you. Prashant, I'll come back to you. You know, the thought of becoming big has to come from the leadership from the top. And even the push, or if I am allowed to say the shove, needs to come from the leadership, from the top. Now, how can the younger breed of professionals play a role in this becoming big journey?
I feel first the younger breed need to understand this is the time for specialization. Generalist will find their space, but then if we are looking at something larger and in order to do collaborations, this is very important to go into specialization. That is one part of it. Second, they should have this mindset of taking certain certifications at global level. Very important, because then the competition is not just on doing the same activity by the fellow Indian CAs. It is actually increasing that competitive framework beyond the country. That is very important. Of course, technology, I have to again tell, they have to adopt to it. They have to undergo some sort of a training in technology in the field that they are in, at least. That is something they have to do. Otherwise, there is no catching up possible in the current times. Once they obtain this kind of a capability, it is important for them to understand alone they cannot do anything. It is always a teamwork. They have to find out better partners. They have to find out partners first, I understand. Then let them go into exploring, forming alliances and networks. That is when, right at the beginning of their career, they will start understanding, okay, there is a practice, this has to be done in a certain methodology. So that kind of a basic foundation needs to change in the way the young generation of CAs are qualifying and coming out. There is no necessity to just follow the queue and follow what others are doing. They have to carve out a separate niche for themselves and take that niche ahead and grow successfully. I think that should be the way the younger lot has to think over.
Thank you, Prashant. Now I'll come back to you, Vikash. Now that you have informed this August gathering that the BSR field is not that small, kindly guide this audience on how to take advantage of it, what are the opportunities available, and how you yourself being, from Jamshedpur, from Eastern India, how the Eastern India professionals can benefit out of it.
I think the right question you have asked now, actually, after asking 3 questions, what are the emerging opportunities for the chartered accountant? I think you all are waiting to hear about that. See, I would say that there are huge amount of opportunities which are emerging in the BRSR space and more so in the sustainability and the ESG space. So sorry, I might take little bit longer time, little bit, okay, so don't mind. Okay, so why I'm saying this? Because as I mentioned earlier, the ESG risk is actually emerging as the big risk even by the global CEOs. And therefore the SEBI has actually mandated that. And just now I mentioned that it is not necessary that only 1,000 companies, listed companies are only going to report about the BRSR. All their large, the suppliers, MSME, the vendors who are supplying to these large companies, they are also required to do their BRSR reporting as well, right? So therefore, there is a huge amount of opportunities there. And I feel that, normally for any company, their chartered accountant is the first port of call whenever they face this kind of, the requirement कि यार हमारे को कुछ ESG से related हमारे जो customers ने कुछ मांगा है, तो how can you basically help us, right? So I have seen that chartered accountants normally help their clients in terms of, these ESG related compliance. So I would say that there are a number of opportunities there in the ESG and specifically in BRSR, and some of them are like as follows. First, you can definitely help the client in terms of preparing the BRSR report. It is not a rocket science. As I mentioned, there are only about 150 odd questions for which you have to provide the answers actually, right? That is one. Second thing, that many companies, instead of doing the full-fledged BRSR, they want certain help only in certain specific sections of BRSR. Like they can come and ask, can you help us in doing the carbon accounting? Can you help us in doing the carbon footprint assessment, etc. So SRSB, which is the Sustainability Board of India, they have created a very nice tool. You can go and take the help of the tool and you can help your client in doing the carbon related assessment. Third is, many companies are now asking for the sustainability report, which is nothing but the detailing of their ESG performance. If they are taking certain initiative within the company, if they have kind of launched any project related to the ESG, which create the sustainability, etc. So you have to do more detailing and you can help in preparing the sustainability report. And last, I would say that, I would extend it little bit. So now you know that the European Union has actually imposed the carbon tax on their, the importer for any import of the product from the other developing countries, right? So therefore the exporters here from India, they are also required to report, they are also required to comply with this carbon border adjustment mechanism, right? So under that, you can definitely help your client who all are kind of, exporting the goods to the European Union. So I think here from the 1st January 2026, it is going to become compulsory for all the exporters to kind of, do the compliance with this CBAM requirement. So there also you can do. So I would say the BRSR is probably just 1 or 2% of the overall opportunities which are going to be there in the space of ESG and sustainability. I think we all need to just gear up. How many of you actually done, say, the BRSR certification program by ICAI, Chartered Accountant Institute? So if you have not done, you can actually take up that particular course, BRSR certification course. That will help you to get some good understanding about the BRSR. And through that, I am sure that you will be able to provide good services to your clients in the space of ESG and BRSR. Thank you.
Thank you. Deepak. As a profession, what can the profession do to first enter into and then to thrive in the GCC field?
Sure, Ravi sir. Let's call enter into or survive as a INR discounted rate and thrive as a rack dollar rate, pun intended. So no brainer, we will go for rack rate which is in dollars, dollar, it attracts more eyeballs. But a larger point here I want to make is that, see, most of the GCCs are largely in the product development or on the tech base. Gone are the days when GCCs are looking only for cost center or cost effective processes, but they are now more on the innovation product development, that phase. In that case, in order to partner with those GCCs, we need to be ahead of the curve. No choice, but we need to show that yes, we know the market in whichever industry it is. Then only we can attract the right balls, and that's what the skill set we need to develop, be it BFSI or telecom or retail, whatever it is, what kind of products is being developed, what kind of technology are in the forefront. As a finance professional, definitely we don't need to understand the coding, but definitely what are the input and output that is expected out of it. If we can fit it right well in the process, guide the GCC client that what are the workflows or the right market practices that they can adopt, I think then we are there in terms of what I defined as Thrive or dollar rack rate billing. Thank you.
Thank you. The next 3 questions will be one-liner questions to each one of them, where they have to answer within a line. And then we will go for the audience questions, if any. I'll start off with Vikash. Okay. Tell me, Vikash, most of the Indian top corporates are thinking of becoming carbon neutral between 2040 to 2050. They are devising plans accordingly. In percentage terms, what do you feel would be the success rate? And in terms of the year, by what time do you feel that most of the top companies will actually achieve it? 2 figures from you.
Yeah, see, if you ask me, the large companies which have already come out in the public domain and mentioned that they are going to become the carbon neutral, I would say most of the large companies will be able to do that. While I don't believe about the other companies, because there are a lot of greenwashing which is happening in the field of ESG. Might be on the paper, we'll find that 100% have achieved, the carbon neutrality, but in reality, that might not be the case. So probably large companies, I will say most of them will actually achieve, but MSMEs and probably the other companies, it might be difficult.
Thank you. To you. What percentage of the GCC revenue by 2035 can be in the hands of CA firms? Just one figure from you.
Globally, if you see,
I'm talking about India only.
okay,
I'm
okay.
talking about India only.
Let's call it India perspective in that case. Normally the finance function cost, including the audit fee, everything, that comes to normally around close to 1.2 to 1.5% of the total revenue of the company. I'm talking about the large companies. If I say medium size or small size, it can go up to 4 to 6%. If I put it on the GCC, largely on the larger GCC, I believe CA firm can easily capture 0.5 to 0.6% because of the rapid process and governance that definitely all the GCC need to undergo through, plus whatever the process improvement they need to go through, and as a CA professionals, we are the best poised in order to provide their services. In terms, if I put a quantum to it, the current GCC revenue is close to $65 billion. Now you can do the maths, 0.5 to 0.6%, and by 2035, it is, I believe it should not be less than 2x to 3x of the current volume on the basis of growth rate. If it is a smaller nano or small GCC or medium-sized GCC, this number can pump up to 1 to 1.5%. So that's a sizable revenue we are talking about that comes from GCC.
We are happy with 10,000 crores. Thank you.
Pretty much.
Last one to you, Prashant. The year by which we will have the first Indian chartered accountancy firm touching 100 millions top line. 100 million. Very small figure I am giving. 1,000 million. 100 million, yes. In dollars.
So obviously the scale has to go up. That is most important.
I just need one liner, one word, one figure basically. By which year? And I know it could be your firm,
I mean,
but
are we looking at in Indian rupee terms 800 crores kind of a thing?
yeah,
Okay.
maybe 1,000 crores.
I think 1,000 crores should be in 6
No,
to
no, 10,000 crores.
10,000 crores?
Yeah.
Ah, okay, okay. 100, okay. Okay. So that is possible not as a single firm. That is not possible as a single
Firm.
Single firm will take some time. Right now, even if you see the big four,
Global revenue.
they're 130
I'm talking
year
about
old.
global revenue. 100 million multiplied by 85, I am saying okay.
Okay. So if I am too optimistic, I would say the scale at which all the three people are going together, if they are fast, I feel we can do in 10 years.
That is pretty optimistic, and on
Yeah,
that
but if
optimism,
it is-
perhaps we can really have a round of applause, some hands for that optimism. Now we open the panel for audience questions. But the President wants it to be over, and no hands have been raised as yet. So I will hand it over to the organizers once again. Thank you very, very much, everybody, for the patient hearing. Thanks a ton.
Good evening, everyone. This is Siddhant Jajodia. And as we move towards the end of the day, I would really like to thank our esteemed speakers and our very dear panelists for taking this amazing session. As a young CA, it is so inspiring to see the world beyond the conventional CA fields. And thank you so much for helping us understand beyond audit, taxation, so many things lies much beyond. Thank you so much for your time. And as we move towards the last session, I would like to remind that after the last session, we have a lucky draw. So if you're thinking to leave, just stay some more time. Maybe today is your day. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.